Sisyphus and the Meaning of Struggle. Albert Camus' famous quote, "The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy," comes from his philosophical essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. In this work, Camus explores the idea of the absurd, the human desire for meaning in a meaningless universe, and how one can find purpose despite this paradox. His interpretation of the Greek myth of Sisyphus offers a profound reflection on the nature of existence and the way we approach our struggles in life. Understanding the absurd and the myth of Sisyphus. Camus defines the absurd as the conflict between human beings' innate desire to find meaning and the silent, indifferent universe that offers none. We seek patterns, purpose, and certainty, yet we live in a world that provides randomness, suffering, and ultimately, death. Many people turn to religion, ideology, or other constructs to escape the absurd, but Camus argues that these are mere illusions. Instead, he proposes that we must confront the absurd directly, acknowledge its presence, and still choose to live. To illustrate this philosophy, Camus turns to the ancient story of Sisyphus. In Greek mythology, Sisyphus is condemned by the gods to roll a massive boulder up a mountain, only to see it roll back down each time he reaches the top. This cycle repeats endlessly, making his punishment a symbol of futile and meaningless labor. At first glance, Sisyphus' fate appears tragic. He is stuck in an eternal loop of meaningless effort, never making progress. However, Camus challenges this assumption. Why must we imagine Sisyphus happy? Camus presents a radical idea. We must imagine Sisyphus happy not because his task is easy or fulfilling, but because he accepts it. The key to overcoming the absurd is not to seek an ultimate meaning, but to embrace the struggle itself. By acknowledging the absurdity of his condition and refusing to despair, Sisyphus transforms his punishment into an act of defiance. He becomes the master of his fate, not by escaping his struggle, but by choosing to engage in it willingly. This perspective shifts the focus from the result to the process. Sisyphus may never reach the top and complete his task, but his struggle in itself gives him purpose. In that effort, in his refusal to surrender, he finds his own kind of happiness. How this philosophy applies to our lives, Sisyphus' story is a metaphor for human existence. Just like him, we engage in repetitive cycles, waking up, going to work, pursuing ambitions, facing disappointments, and continuing on despite knowing that death is inevitable. If we view life only in terms of reaching final goals, success, happiness, wealth, enlightenment, we risk falling into despair when we realize that no achievement is permanent. However, if we shift our focus and find fulfillment in the process itself, we can transform our struggles into something meaningful. Many aspects of life mirror Sisyphus' struggle. The artist who tirelessly paints, knowing that no work is ever truly finished. The scientist who continues researching, knowing that new discoveries will only lead to more questions. The teacher who educates generations of students, knowing that they may never see the full impact of their efforts. The parent who raises a child, knowing that each new phase of life brings new challenges and uncertainties. None of these pursuits have a single final destination. Instead, their value lies in the act of doing, in the experience of persistence, growth, and engagement with life itself. Conclusion: embracing the struggle. Camus' philosophy teaches us that happiness does not come from escaping struggle, but from engaging with it fully. Life is an ongoing journey without a final answer, and within that uncertainty lies the potential for meaning. Sisyphus's story is not just a tragedy, it is a lesson in resilience. If we learn to embrace our struggles, accept the absurdity of life, and find joy in the act of living itself, then like Sisyphus, we can be truly free. So must we imagine Sisyphus happy? Yes, because his happiness, like ours, is not given, but created.